What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I am Lolise and we are doing another Vanderpump Rules recap because the season's about to end and the red flags, well, I was gonna say they're flying, but like at this point, by the end of this episode, these red flags are not red flags anymore. They are morphing into full-on stop signs, or red lights even. But before we get into all of this, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I post. And please don't send anybody that we talk about in this video any hate, negativity, nothing like that. These are just my thoughts and opinions based on what I am seeing on a TV show and playing out on the internet. So if you have something to say about what we're talking about, shoot it down in the comments below. That's what they are there for. Okay, so with this week's Vanderpump Rules, this episode was called Beach Don't Kill My Vibe, and a lot goes on in this episode. In terms of drama that happened between the episodes, like in the real world, there actually really wasn't a lot. Like, really the only big thing was that Tom Sandoval was stopped by the press, paparazzi, and he seemed pretty upset and, said Raquel is actually in a mental health facility. He is actually at a wellness retreat there at 2 different places. Now, Demois got some kind of blind item source, I believe it was Demois, that he did go to Marival, the place that's actually in Arizona. I said it was in Orange County, but it's actually in Arizona. And reports were that Raquel was there at least for a day. So she could have just been hanging out in a room and, keeping a low profile around the resort instead of partaking in things, or maybe she was just there for a day and then left to go to this allegedly real mental health facility that Sandoval claims she is in. The other big thing is that this past week's Watch What Happens live guest was James Kennedy, and just a few things that I really remember distinctly is he was asked, the one main question is do you think the relationship between Sandoval and Raquel is gonna last? And he said, God, I hope so, because he knows it's toxic, how can it not be? And he wants to see them just be in this toxicity together. He wants to see them miserable together, pretty much is what it is. And he said he was shocked actually by all of this, though there were lots of clues around that he really didn't think that it was a possibility, so it was still very shocking for him. For the most part, I have grown to appreciate James Kennedy in terms of what he brings to the show, but he was friggin' crazy in this past week's episode. So let's get into it. So we start off with a bunch of B-roll. Lala's birthday was the previous night, so people are hungover or hairing the dog. I think Schwartz makes a drink. No, actually he's trying to juice something and he literally doesn't put the thing in the juicer and it just goes everywhere. What an idiot. And Ellie and James are extremely hungover and they are just guzzling down an entire gallon of water. Katie is the one that's hairing the dog and she is mixing a cocktail when Lala comes over and they have Chick-fil-A together to recover. Well, Lala's not recovering because she's sober, but Katie is. So they discuss Lala's birthday and Katie's date. Satch is what they call him. Satch, short for Satchel. The conversation slowly shifts to Katie's divorce, because they're talking about relationships, and then it starts to shift to Schwartz particularly, and then Raquel, and Lala asks Katie, can you ever actually forgive Raquel for that? And Katie says, yeah, she can, but, she would still keep her distance. It is really hard to regain trust to somebody that you really don't think you can trust around somebody that you're interested in. Lala says once again that the best present was having Raquel show up at her party after Raquel calling her a bimbo mistress, and then Raquel getting dragged as a mistress for her to show up at her birthday and basically be begging for forgiveness was the best gift that Lala could have. And I think it was her 30th birthday, so it's welcome to your 30s. Katie says, yeah, it was pretty enjoyable to see her kind of becoming and essentially groveling. And then she tells Lala about what she said to Sandoval about the Abbey and them being out there at 1 a.m. Lala says, yeah, it is really weird that they were just at the club together at 1 a.m. And in Katie's confessional, she says she doesn't want to think anything happened between Sandoval and Raquel, because if something did, that she would have to kill Sandoval. Well, it's a good thing she did not actually commit murder, but she has been eviscerating him throughout podcasts in the press, so she did kind of keep her word a little bit. But they both agree that it's a little weird that they were at the club together at 1 a.m. and it makes them both weary because they established in Las Vegas with Raquel basically confirming she is not to be trusted if she is around somebody interested and she's been drinking. All of the seeds of Sandoval are being planted in this episode for us to go along with the journey, and The sad thing is the cast in the time of filming doesn't even realize it. Then we get the Toms going to a food truck, and this was very much like staged. I feel like Schwartz, even though he's always awkward, he's even more awkward in this conversation. It makes me think that perhaps Sandoval disclosed what had happened before they did this scene, because the way the conversations focus on Raquel and then Ariana and Tom's relationship is very suspicious. They first start talking about Raquel, and Schwartz says, she's attractive, but I'm just not into her. He has a gut feeling that she's crushing on somebody else, that she is into someone else. Yeah, I feel like he probably knows a little bit of something, and at first I was like, is he really that stupid to say something like this in front of cameras if he knew? Yes, Schwartz is. And the entire time, Sandoval is just kind of frozen with this like weird grin, like, please stop bringing this up. Then Schwartz asks, oh, well, how are you and Ariana? Sandoval tells Schwartz about, they're doing the whole fertilizing the egg thing, but that every time Sandoval has issues with something, he says Ariana comes at him. He says that she is dismissive of him and constantly says, every day I work on our love. He literally says that line. According to him on the Howie Mandel podcast, at this point, he is probably in therapy. He is in couples therapy. He got into therapy because he was obsessed with Raquel and he wanted to break up with Ariana. He said his plan was to break up with her in therapy. But meanwhile, he's working on their love every day, and he's also going to be fertilizing her eggs. Like, what a jackass. Also, he is wearing the lightning bolt necklace in this scene. Now, James and Ellie have gotten out of bed. They still are probably pretty hungover. James is making PB&J sandwiches, and he used a strawberry jam, and it made me so sad because I am a grape jelly kind of girl. He's making sandwiches. Ellie is doing astrology because that is what like her job is, or like what she wants to make her job. I don't know. But they are talking about Lala's birthday and Raquel is showing up. And James is like kind of surprised that Raquel, this influencer as he calls her, who is on her phone all the time, literally didn't like do a little bit of checking to see if Oliver is divorced or separated or married. Because yeah, when all this broke, like I kind of recalled that they were married. I mean, I've seen him on Real Housewives, and there's also articles written about him because of who his mom is and his appearances on the show. And so he's like, she didn't really take like 2 minutes to like just look into him real quick. Ellie brings up to James that there is a possibility that Katie maybe told Sandoval what she saw about him at the Abbey. I feel like I just keep saying that over and over again because she saw Katie and Sandoval talking and him kind of make a face. James says, what exactly was your conversation with Katie? And so she said, we saw them after, see you next Tuesday. Katie thought it was weird that they were alone with just like him and Raquel. Katie says something about Tom and Ariana like not having rules, which Allie wasn't sure what Katie meant by that. James took that as meaning, are Tom and Ariana, they're in an open relationship then? Because he also like brings up the time that Ariana and Lala fooled around in the backseat of Tom's car, which was widely talked about on the show. And when he's talking about that, Allie looks just kind of like uncomfortable. And Allie's like, crap, I really don't want to be starting drama. I just had to tell people this dramatic thing I saw. Girl, you're on a reality TV show. Like, that is what you were here for. Allie wonders if she should call Ariana and tell her what she saw and explain to her so this rumor doesn't get big and blown out of proportion. And James is like, no, don't talk to Ariana right away. We'll find out later that Ariana's actually, she's not in really much of this episode at all because unfortunately this is when her grandmother passes and she has to go home to be with her family for a while and grieve. So James says, instead of talking to Ariana about this, talk to Sheena. Let's just spread this gossip and rumor around more. However, James does make a good point that Sheena is best friends with Ariana and she's also best friends with Raquel. So she is kind of like a good sounding board for what's going on in Ariana and Tom's relationship and what's going on over here with Raquel and Tom. And also, Sheena just loves gossip, so she's just gonna eat this up. But also, Sheena is direct when she finds something out. She is going to get to the bottom of it. And as we go through the course of this episode, it also explains why Sheena was so enraged with Raquel, because she hardcore went to bat for Raquel during this season, especially with all of this stuff. She got stabbed in the back just as much as Ariana. Well, not just as much, but like she got stabbed in the back, but like the blade is small. Like she got more of a shank where Ariana got like a full-blown like machete. So then we get an awesome scene of Ariana and Katie going to check out their new space. They have keys, they can get in. This place is super cute. It's small, it's intimate. They have a little outdoor area as well. Also, I really liked Ariana's dress in this scene. It was super cute. Lisa then shows up because, you know, she helped them get the space, and they explain like what they want the vibe to be, business plans that they are working out with investors, so they're gonna get that moving. Then they tell Lisa about Lala's birthday and Raquel showing up, and that she had told Oliver off because he's married and everything. And Lisa's like, no, I know for a fact that he is not married. I'm assuming she says that because like Oliver works for her, and then she also knows Oliver's mother, Garcelle, and they had lunch together, but nowhere in that lunch did he actually say that he is separated, at least like in what they showed us. They kind of made it sound like things were happening in terms of separation, but he never flat out says it anywhere in that. He doesn't say it in front of his mom, and if you don't say it in front of your mama, I don't know if I believe you. And when Lisa drops that little bomb, Ariana and Katie look at each other like, well, Raquel is going around lying then, because she's saying he's still married. Now, here's the thing. I don't think Raquel is lying. She is getting her information from his wife or estranged wife. I still have no idea. Like, I feel like they're still kind of married. Well, they're probably not married now after all this stuff. But she was basing her information off of the conversation with his wife, and then she had a conversation with him, because she doesn't feel like she can trust what Oliver says to her anymore. I don't know, it's like an interesting dynamic. So I don't really see Raquel as like the liar in this, but also we didn't actually hear what her conversation was with Oliver's wife, because Oliver's wife did not agree to do this at all, or she's not a TV star. I wouldn't say like she's running around town lying per se. She's just drawing her own conclusions based off the information she's getting from places. And Lisa's like, I don't know why people are crucifying her. She did nothing wrong with Oliver, and Katie's not convinced. She's got this look on her face, and Lisa calls it out. And Katie's like, look, I'm still not into her. Like, I feel like she really doesn't have a lot of regard for how things affect people around her. The scene ends. I'm really excited for the sandwich shop though. James and Lala actually meet up for lunch, and the way James looks at Lala is like he is into how she looks. She's got a very interesting outfit on, and he lets her know. But then he keeps like gazing at her for a while, and I was like, if I was Allie, I would not like how he's looking at her. But then James tells her about a festival he's going to be opening for a very popular DJ who I have no idea who it is, because I do not pay attention to the DJ world. But this is a very big thing for him, because it is a huge festival of like tens of thousands of people. And then they talk about Ellie, and Lala's like, I really like Ellie. I think she's amazing. She has a lot more going on inside of her head, as opposed to like your ex, Raquel. She's kind of an idiot. James tells her that he's actually planning a party at the beach for the next day, and he's going to invite everybody. He's not going to exclude anyone. He's even going to invite Raquel, and he says part of the reason he's going to invite her is he knows what it feels like to be the one that's excluded, so he doesn't want to make anybody feel like that, but he also does not want to hear people talking about why she's not there all day, or asking him, why isn't Raquel here? Where's Raquel? So he's like, I'm just going to invite her so I don't have to get any of those questions or hear any of that crap. I understand that. But in reality, like, really, why should he invite her? I mean, he and Allie did agree to try and keep their distance from Raquel, and it's just not happening. It's not panning out. And then the Toms we get this terrible scene, this terribly immature scene of the Toms going for Sandoval to give his sperm sample, and he calls it, what does he call it? His jizz sample. It's just like, you're speaking to a medical professional. Unfortunately, Ariana is not here because, like I said, this is when her grandmother passed, so she is there taking care of that, and she's been going through a hell of a summer. And for the most part, his sperm are okay. I think they said like a large percentage of them do have like abnormalities, which comes from substance abuse, of alcohol or drugs, and wearing tight pants. So he's just gotta stop doing those things for a little bit, and then they will have more sperm to donate. But I did not know this. I learned this from this episode. They actually handpick individual sperm, which makes sense. If you're going through all of this, you better pick the nicest looking little sperm to put in that little egg, because this is no joke. That's a lot of money. But now I know why it's a lot of money, because somebody is literally picking through with a fine-tooth comb to find the best sperm. I've been talking a lot about sperm right now. What I found interesting about the timeline and the not breaking up with Ariana was one of the excuses he made for not breaking up with her was her grandmother died. He was going to try and break up with her around this time. her grandmother died, so instead he has gone to get his sperm checked so he can donate his sperm to fertilize her eggs. Instead of breaking up with her, he is taking these completely opposite steps. And in the Howie Mandel interview, once again, he made it seem like this whole sperm donation thing was not a conversation, had never came up, when now we see him at a literal effing doctor's office and they're looking at his sperm to make sure it is healthy enough to put in her eggs. Never had conversations. This stuff came out of nowhere. Are you kidding me? Apparently Allie has called Sheena and they meet up at this cool place as like skee ball and stuff. Like, I kind of want to go to this place. Talk about the upcoming beach party and the fact that Raquel is actually invited. At first she wasn't in the group chat, but James forgot to add her to the group chat. Talk more about Raquel, and Sheena says she thinks it's both cool that both Allie and Raquel are both cool with her hanging out with each other because she really likes both people, and Raquel is a really good friend of hers and she does really like Allie. And Sheena asked her like, how have the other girls been with you? And Allie says, you know, she thinks it is, first of all, she thinks it's kind of weird that there's like exes everywhere throughout this group because that's not what happens in her friends group. You break up with somebody, you're like, you're gone, you're never seen again. Same girl, I think it's weird too. But Sheena also asked her how she's doing with the other women in the group because, you know, Sheena actually did have a really hard time breaking through with the other ladies. She was always very much like the outcast or like the bottom of the pole. So she can understand what it's like to be an outsider with the other ladies. Allie says it's been hard, you know, especially hearing how the other ladies talk about Raquel, and because they're, especially Lala, pretty vicious. And then she goes on to tell Sheena about the whole Abby thing, seeing her at the Abbey with Sandoval, and how the other ladies are starting to kind of twist it a little bit. And Allie is nervous because she's like, it was weird, but I didn't want to like jump to conclusions, and now they're all jumping to the conclusions that I didn't want to jump to. And how Katie said, you know, well, like Tom and Ariana have no rules. And as she's saying this, Sheena's face is just like confused, taken aback, skeptical, because she knows these people very well. And she's like, this is the first time I've ever heard anything about them having an open relationship. I can tell you 100% they do not have an open relationship. And Sheena is disgusted that Katie would even put this kind of thing out there about them, especially when Ariana is back home with friends and family, mourning the loss of her grandmother. And Allie asked Sheena, like, would you be comfortable with Brock going to the club with Raquel at 1 a.m.? And Sheena's like, yes, I would be comfortable with that. She is like the little sister to Brock and Tom Sandoval. They're like her big brothers. Like, I would be comfortable with my husband, Brock, in bed with Raquel. I know nothing would happen. Well, girl, now you know you should not trust Raquel in bed with your husband. You can trust your husband, but not trust her. Allie says, look, I didn't see it as anything shady. I just thought it was weird that they were together alone at such an hour at night. And Sheena's mad because she's just like, the girls are twisting this against Tom and Ariana when they just really dislike Raquel so much that they are doing this at the expense of somebody else's relationships. Once again, that hindsight, man. But you know, Sheena just thinks they're all just targeting Raquel. So then we get the beach party. Soon we'll be able to have beach parties where I live. It's still freezing. I actually have a heated blanket on right now. I'm so cold, but I'm also in a basement. So we're arriving at the beach, like everybody's there. They have a canopy, they have like umbrellas. I love that they are giving themselves shade. It looks kind of fun for the most part, except like Raquel, when she arrives, she like gives James a hug and tries to talk to him, and he's kind of like, I mean, I invited you, but I like don't want to talk to you. And then she sits down next to Allie and is like having conversations with Allie, and then introduces Charlie to Allie, which surprising, they had never met before. They're talking about dating James, and Raquel is like giving her advice, I guess, or like warning her almost, and telling her, you know, you have to like learn your lessons on your own when it comes to James. And like, I just don't like that. That's why I don't like meeting my significant other's exes, because they feel like they have all this inside information and tea on how this person is. And to some extent that is true, but also like my relationship and your relationship are not the same. And really, for me, Raquel needs to get off of her high horse when it comes to, I dated James. Get over it. Move on. You broke up with him. Katie then arrives and she brings Satchel, or Satch, I guess is what we're calling. And Schwartz like introduces himself to him and they like shake hands, and he tries to talk to Katie, and Katie's just like, She doesn't want to talk to him either. I don't know why Schwartz doesn't get it. And then at some point, I don't know what Sandoval's doing, but he's like not under the canopy. He's like alone, and Sheena comes up to him And she wants to talk to him about this whole rumor that's going on about the Abby situation and the whole like gossip train that's gone along with it. As she starts to explain, you can see that Tom seems relieved because he can see where Sheena's going with her train of thought, and he can just light that fire even more of, yeah, they're just targeting Raquel. They're doing it at the expense of me and Ariana. Like, of course we're not in an open relationship. And everybody's just twisting it, and they're throwing me and Ariana under the bus. And if, like, I was gonna cheat with Raquel, why would I go to the Abbey? Like, we know everyone there. Like, somebody would tell somebody. It's kind of like a hiding in plain sight sort of situation, and that's what they've been doing for almost, it seems like, the majority of this season. And we know that he doesn't mind being careless. He actually said in the Howie Mandel interview there were plenty of times where he was careless with his affair with Raquel, and he was surprised and blamed Ariana for not seeing the times that he was careless. So it's not surprising that he would go to a public place with her at 1 a.m. and dance. As long as they don't make out in front of people, they're good. But they can go in a back alley and make out right away. It's not like they don't know all the little spots in Hollywood. And he probably knew he could talk his way out of it if anybody saw anything. Then Sandoval leans into how terrible Katie is for doing this to Ariana, for putting out open relationship rumors and stuff like this when she's not even here to defend herself. And Tom tells Sheena, no, we're not in an open relationship. However, if you and Brock want to come over, I'm sure me and Ariana can work something out with you guys. I mean, that was like a little joke, trying to lighten the mood. I found it funny, but now in hindsight, in poor taste. Back under the canopy, James is actually talking to Schwartz and Raquel and some other people that are sitting there. And he's telling them about the festival and how excited he is to perform. And Schwartz asks, is it bigger than Rachella? Rachella is what James called his proposal thing to Raquel the previous year, or maybe it was 2 years ago. And that rightfully pissed James off. Schwartz immediately starts like apologizing in his like pathetic little way. And James isn't having it. He actually ends up throwing a drink in Schwartz's face, which is a little bit of karma for Schwartz because Schwartz has totally dumped drinks on other people, including Katie, who was his girlfriend at the time. Everyone is totally shocked, and James continues to just insult him, and he cuts deep as he starts to like walk away. And as he starts to walk away, apparently Schwartz grew some set of small testicles and tells James if he does that again, it won't be good for him. Well, now you're starting to rile up James Kennedy even more, and he comes back, continue to argue, threaten to fight, and while this is going down, Allie is like, nope, she disconnects from this, and she heads down to the beach with Charlie. She's like, I don't want to deal with this. This is something totally different than what I'm used to with James. She's seeing sides of him that she's never seen before, and it does make her second guess a lot of stuff. The argument continues, and they go back and forth a lot until eventually, like, James says he regrets the engagement. He regrets Raquel being engaged to Raquel, that it was a stupid thing, and he storms off. Then, like, Lala and everybody else starts bringing up, like, literally 10-year-old drama, and things eventually start to cool down as everybody starts to agree that it was a bad joke. Schwartz says it wasn't a bad joke, it was just a poorly timed joke. No, it's just a bad joke. Now, Katie and Lala have both brought dates. Lala brought that guy that they met when they were in Havasu, but he lived in Los Angeles. I can't remember his name. Don, I think is what she said. The Don. And you know, Katie brought Satch. They wanted to have fun with their dates, and this was not a fun experience. So they were like, we're gonna go somewhere else. And they head like a block or two up, and they go to a bar to have fun. Cause yeah, like literally how embarrassing to be around these people. Allie and Charlie come back and join the group under the tent, and James immediately sits down. Charlie asks how he is. James asks Allie why she didn't ask how he is, and Allie's like, I know how you are. You're not doing well. I don't need to ask you. I really enjoy Allie. James is like, well, you're not on my side. And Charlie's like, well, can you see how uncomfortable this whole thing is for her as well? How is she going to support you and be on your side when you're acting completely irrational, James? Come on. And Lala texts Christina Kelly and maybe Charlie to come and join them at the bar that they went to. And somehow that gets turned into the entire gang just meeting up with them at the bar, which was not actually what Lala and Katie were anticipating. They just wanted like Christina and maybe Charlie, because Charlie brought it up, but then they said they only texted Christina, so I don't know. As they all sit down, they're sitting in this like couch thing. There's a big table around them. Schwartz is trying to engage with Katie, and it's like she doesn't want to talk to you. She's on a date with somebody else. You guys are in the same friend group, so she has no choice. She didn't actually want you at this bar in the first place, but somehow you ended up here, so just leave her alone. Just stop engaging. And because Schwartz cannot let anything go, he brings up the fight that happened back at the beach, and he's trying to talk to James about it. And like, can you just like move on, please? Lala walks up, she takes James' side, and then they actually start to really get into it. And Schwartz like lashes out at her sponsored Instagram post, plastic surgery that she's had. He calls her a bootleg housewife. He mocks her businesses. He mocks her as a mother. Lala, she doesn't hold back either. She lays into him about his business and just how pathetic he is as a person, and talking about, you know, how he fails at business. When I can walk into your restaurant and buy food, let me know. Lala then goes back to the group. Schwartz is at a table by himself because, well, he's not really welcome to sit with anybody anymore. And so Lala sits down with the group, and it looks like Raquel is starting to talk to Lala, like they're talking across. But James actually gets a splash of liquor in his eye, and it's like incredibly burning. I thought he got stabbed in the eye, but now I see the straw like flipped and like splashed stuff in his eye. He is pretty upset because Allie did kind of like accidentally hit the straw, but then she started laughing, and he's very upset, and she is so annoyed and over it. She's like, nobody enjoys you looking like a fool. Trust me, it's not enjoyable for everybody. Just sit down and shut up. I don't want to argue with you anymore. Even Lala comments like, the vibes of this whole day are just so off. Like, everybody is in a really bad mood, and they are really aggressive. And then Sheena asks Lala something, and I watched this several times, and I even put the captions on because I couldn't understand what exactly Sheena's question was, but I got what she was trying to ask her at least, and it was something about like Oliver, and basically like, well, what I think she meant was, did Lala think that Raquel should have like asked more questions about Oliver? I think that's what she was trying to say. And Lala's like, look, you believed what you were told. I don't fault you for that at all, because there are women that will know the truth and just not care. And when you learned what was the truth, you cared and pulled out of that situation. And then Raquel decides to engage with Katie and says, look, I don't think making out with Schwartz makes me a whore. And Katie says something about she gave Raquel chances to prove that she actually cared about having a friendship with Katie. And as she's saying this, Sandoval decides that he has to jump in and is like, oh, so why does Raquel have to prove herself to you now? Well, I mean, Sandoval, they did have a dinner where Raquel like admitted that she had asked Schwartz to make out, and she felt bad about that, and she wanted to prove herself as a friend to Katie. So they've had conversations about it. And then Sandoval tells Katie, well, Oriana's not very happy with you right now. And Katie's like, what? Why? She's not even here. And he's like, you know what you did. You know what you said. Well, you know what you didn't say. You know what you insinuated. You insinuated that we're in an open relationship. And so in the confessional, this is one of the big parts, a producer asked Tom, have you ever been physical with Raquel? And he has such a shit-eating grin on his face, he can't even hold it back, and he says no. He says, I've never done anything with Raquel that I wouldn't do with Katie Maloney. But he has that grin on his face the whole time, that knowing grin of, I am lying. He can't keep it off of his face. Then Katie asks Allie, what did I say to you that made you think I was saying they're in an open relationship? And Allie kind of changes a little bit of what Katie said to her. It was different from what she told James. Like, she worded it a little different, and the way like she worded it when she was talking to Katie is less like, they're in an open relationship. What Katie really meant was they don't keep each other on tight leash. Like, they don't have to check in with each other every 2 seconds. That doesn't mean they're in an open relationship and can just bang whoever they want. Sandoval then decides to start attacking Katie because deflect. He needs to deflect attention off of him and Raquel and what could have possibly happened at the Abbey. And he's putting everything on Katie and her divorce and how terrible she was, how terrible she is compared to how Schwartz is dealing with the whole thing. She tells him to get a life, and I'm like, oh my god, this has to be so awkward for poor Satch, because that's what we're calling him now, Satch. And that's kind of where the episode ends. But the next week, oh my god, it is nothing but Sandoval red flags. Apparently, Raquel is late for work at SUR because she slept over at Tom Sandoval's. She got really wasted the previous night, got in a jacuzzi, and overslept because she slept at Sandoval's. And Katie finds this out while she's making sandwiches with Lisa, and Ken Todd tells them this. And I don't think Ariana is still back in town yet, so she has no idea. We also, in this trailer, see Lala and James discussing that they think Sandoval does have something for Raquel. And some of the group goes glamping. So yeah, this was an episode of Red Flags. Next week is an episode of Red Flags. We're going to be to that final episode soon. In fact, next week might be the final episode with all the extra footage. I'm not really sure because this was episode 12, and I think there's only supposed to be 12 episodes and then the reunion. I don't know, I am really wondering what happens next week and to see all of the shenanigans that happen. Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in my next video. Laters. Bye.